Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Southeast Media Sunrise, dedicated to giving a voice to authors of all genres. I'm your host, Jodi Hockinson. Joining us remotely by phone today is Vicki Ann Bush, author of the young adult fantasy LGBTQ novel Alex, McKenna, and the Geranium Deaths, the first in a series of books that will feature a 17-year-old transgender male named Alex with paranormal abilities. This story starts out with a bang and will keep you on the edge of your seat. Originally from New York, Vicki Ann Bush currently resides in Nevada. Writing young adult paranormal, she finds her inspiration from events that have been in her life for as long as she can remember. She inherited her sensitivity to the supernatural from her family, which continues to be an endless source of vision. Thank you for joining us today, Vicki Ann.
Thank you for having me on, Jodi. I'm really excited.
Oh, my pleasure. So to start with, I would like to read one of your reviews to our listeners. This is found on the back cover of the book. Beyond the well-crafted story and excellent writing, what drew me the most was the love surrounding Alex. The acceptance of who he is in soul and who he will soon become in body is the core of the novel. Can you talk a little bit about Alex, who is a transgender male, how he is portrayed at the beginning of the book, and how his character develops?
Sure. In the beginning of the book, Alex is kind of starting the beginning of what will be a journey of growing with his paranormal or supernatural capabilities. He comes from a long line of Italian witchcraft, and it's prevalent in his on his mom's side of the family. So he's now becoming of age where things are starting to change for him as far as the paranormal. So in the beginning of the book, he's anxious and he wants things to start moving. And as the book goes along and he starts getting new, if you want to call them powers, his clarity starts to grow about his potential. So this way, if you want to think of it as, in the beginning of the book, he's kind of like a toddler, and then towards the middle and the end of the book, he's now, grown into a teenager, in a sense, for his capabilities. And then it's going to keep on going as the series goes on.
So we've talked a little bit about Alex and how his abilities develop. Can you tell us a little bit about the story itself?
Sure. The story itself centers around a house that actually I grew up in as a child, 55 Geranium in Floral Park, New York. And I experienced a lot of my early brushes with paranormal in that house. And so it always stuck with me that it would be interesting to do something with it. The idea of Alex being a transgender male was something that was close to my family, and I wanted to be able to write a character that was relatable and yet not focused on the transgenders. So I took the house, I took my experiences, I took the idea of the paranormal, and then put this all together with his transgender journey as well. So the book kind of starts off with a series of murders that dates back to the 1930s, and it centers around Halloween. And the murders are unusual because the people who are the victims die from their heads being frozen. So they could be in their garden gardening and their head is frozen, and that's how they're found. Or they could be in their bed going to sleep or sitting at their kitchen table. And so this is how the victims are found. And so Alex starts on this journey because it's in his neighborhood, and then soon finds out that it begins with his house.
So I understand this is the first in a series of books about Alex. Can you give us a peek into the next book in the series?
Sure. The next book of the series is going to take Alex a little bit out of his comfort zone of Floral Park, and he is going to be crossing a realm into another dimension, a dimension of the dead, and it involves a high school for teens who have died, and a series of how can I put this without giving out too much? A series of kidnappings
Okay.
that he kind of falls into helping a young girl, and that's how he winds up crossing over.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write for the young adult base.
I actually started off in children's books, and it was my very first publisher, one of the editors that I was speaking with one day, and she actually suggested it to me. She said, asked if I had thought about trying it. At that time, because we're going back several years, young adult had just started becoming popular. Honestly, I had to look up what the exact definition and what what I would be writing, and I so I did, and I started off with a novella called Through the Door to Dust, which eventually became a trilogy, which turned into the now Dust Chronicles. And I tell you, I was hooked. I really enjoyed taking more liberty that I could with the children's books, and fell into it, and it was a very comfortable fit for me.
So I understand you wrote your first book when you were age 13 for a school project.
Yes.
What was it about? What kind of grade did you get? And did you ever publish?
it was it was called Joe Brady, Master Detective.
Uh,
So it was a little whodunit. It was really funny because we had to write the book and then we had to construct it. We had to make the cover and sew the binding. My dad actually, because I can't draw to save my life, I can't even draw a stick figure. My dad did a couple little drawings for me in the back. And unfortunately, at that time, I submitted the book, but I didn't get to finish all of it because we were moving. My dad moved us from New York to California. He had a job offer out there, and he had some of his family that had already moved out there. And so I never got to really complete, some of the components of the book. In fact, the book was left there with the school. And after I
no.
moved, after I moved, it was like a year later, they tracked down one of my friends and they sent it she sent it to me.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so I have it. I have it still all these years, and it brings back a lot of really good memories. But I have to say, I was hooked. I was hooked after doing that.
So, can you name someone else's writing that you admired growing up?
Growing up, oh, I can take you back that like several years that I loved Dean Koontz. Of course, that wouldn't be in my childhood, though.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I read so many different kinds of. I've always had an interest in the paranormal, so I read things like Rosemary's Baby. I'm trying to think, right? It's like right when someone asks you this question. I mean, there were a few classics that I loved. I loved Of Mice and Men. I don't know, that book just always stuck with me. I really enjoyed that. But there's many books that I can't call to mind right now that I enjoyed. There wasn't one particular author. I read a lot of different things when I was younger. I find as I've gotten older, I lean towards the supernatural, the paranormal, like King or Anne Rice or Kuntz, or I even dabbled in a little bit with Robin Cook, which was the medical end of it. But I more lean towards the supernatural.
So, you found your inspiration from events that have been in your life for as long as you can remember. Can you talk about that a little?
Sure. The events I was referring to were more of the supernatural or the sensitivity that I say run in the women in my mom's side of the family. And basically it's just things that I can go back, to when I was probably about 9. And I just remember things like feeling someone brush their hand, like say the back of their hand across my cheek, or comforting the top of my hair, like the top of your head. I would do things like I had earrings that I wore. I think I was about 12 when this happened, and it was in the house on Geranium. They were very large suns, the earrings, and they were hanging earrings. And I had them in my hand, and I had a very flat carpet. So it wasn't like if you dropped something on it, you could see it right away. There was no raise to the carpet, to the material. And I had the earring, and I put one in, and I went to put the other one in, and I dropped it. Right in front of me, I dropped it. I looked at the earring, and I bent down to pick it up, and it was gone. So things like that inspired me. Hearing someone walking up and down the stairs, like we'd be sitting there and you could just hear someone going up and down the stairs. Now, once again, this was me and my mom, my grandmother, but my dad didn't hear it. My brother didn't hear it. So, I mean, there was one evening we had gone to bed, and my dad was working that night, and my mom was in her bedroom, in the master bedroom, and she heard like a typewriter sound coming out of the television. So she got up. The television was turned off. She got up, looked at it, went back to bed. She heard it again. She got up, she unplugged it. She went back to bed. She heard it again. Another night, we were upstairs, and the radio downstairs just turned on. We thought there was an intruder, and then my grandmother, who was staying with us, visiting at the time, said to my mom, "Okay, an intruder's not going to break into the house and turn on the radio."
She had a point.
Yeah, she had a point. But I mean, it just went on by itself. So there was all kinds of things like this that throughout my life. There was a man that I saw, my mom saw, and my eldest daughter saw. Now, we didn't discuss it with each other that we had been seeing this man, and we all lived at different houses. And then one day I'm having a conversation with my mom, and I happen to bring it up, and my mom goes, "Oh, you mean the man in the plaid shirt?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I see him too." And my daughter comes walking in from the other room, and she says, "What do you mean the man in the plaid shirt?" And we're saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing it, and Grandma's seeing it." And she goes, "Mom, I see him too."
So were you able to figure out who he was?
We think it might have been, we're not sure, but it might have been my grandfather, who was my mom's stepfather, but kind of like her father, because he came into the family when my mom was like 7. So he was the only grandfather I knew, and my daughter knew of him from us talking. She had only met him like twice because they lived in New York at the time and we all lived out here. But he wore these plaid shirts, like the older ones that are like red and black or green and black, like almost like a lumberjack type shirt. And but none of us ever saw the face. It would be the man very clear, the height, the dark hair, but we never saw the face. So we don't know for sure. This was just guesswork.
That is so fascinating. One last question. Do you have any advice for the aspiring writers in our audience?
If this is something that you love to do, and it is a hard industry, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of authors out there. There's a lot of people striving to get their work out. But if it's something that you truly love to do, just keep going. Just keep doing it. Because whether you become a Stephen King or whether you don't, you do it for yourself. You do it because you love it. You do it because it's in your blood.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you. Anyone interested in purchasing this book can log into semediapro.com or visit Amazon. This book is available on Kindle and in paperback. And for more information, you can visit VickiAnnBush.com. That's VickiAnnBush.com. And again, we have been speaking with Vicki Ann Bush, author of Alex McKenna and the Geranium Deaths. Thanks again for joining us today, Vicki Ann.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Oh, me too. And listeners, if you're interested in getting your book published, please visit us at semediapro.com and click on the book publishing link. This is Jodi Hockinson, host of Southeast Media Sunrise, Southeast Media Productions. Like us on Facebook, Out Southeast Media Productions, or visit our website at semediapro.com.